Voice of Liberia FM 104.1 in Monrovia, Voice of Liberia FM 89.7 in Kakata, and Voice of Liberia FM 90.7 Bangabon County. And we'll be bringing you events as it happens over there in Liberia. I am a more edit. But before we continue, let's bring you some news brief. Well, all is set for the much anticipated runoff presidential election today in Liberia. The contest is between the incumbent President George Weah and opposition leader Joseph Boakai. This runoff became necessary as none of the 20 presidential candidates in the October 10 poll secured the constitutional threshold of 50% plus one vote to win on the first ballot. In Cote d'Ivoire, a political movement named Committed to the Republic has unveiled an action plan for the re-election of Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara in 2025. The initiative aims to mobilize the youth affiliated with the ruling party and involves a budget of 160 million CFA francs. Despite being 2 years away from completing his third term in office, President Alassane Ouattara has not yet officially declared his candidacy for the re-election. And at least 70 civilians, predominantly elderly individuals and children, lost their lives in an attack on the village of Zango in northern Burkina Faso earlier this month. According to a statement from the Burkina Faso public prosecutor, on Monday, unidentified assailants targeted the village in the country's northern center-north region on November 5, carrying out the assault by killing residents and setting properties on fire. Meanwhile, Ghana's National Security Minister Albert Kandapa has urged members of parliament to exercise caution when discussing military brutalities in the Upper East regional towns of Garu, Tempena, and Bugri. The minister emphasized the need for circumspection, citing various reasons, including the ongoing counter-terrorism operations in the area. Well, the call was made during his appearance before the House to brief members on the brutalities that occurred last month. And those are some of the top stories that we are tracking at this hour. Now, voting has since commenced across the country and will end at 6 p.m. So far, all seems to be going well. In this second edition of our coverage, we will be speaking with experts and analysts and bringing you live feeds from the field. Well, yesterday, Monday, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, said he's been closely monitoring the political development in Liberia after the conduct of the October 10, 2023 general elections. The chairperson highly commends the people and government of Liberia for the orderly and peaceful elections in the first round, which produced a generally accepted outcome, signifying the inherent capacity of AU member states to strengthen democracy. Now, as voting begins, the chairperson urges the people of Liberia once again to display the highest level of resilience and civic commitment via voter turnout and voting peacefully, as well as confidence in the dividends of effective democratic governance through this second round of elections. The chairperson calls on all Liberian stakeholders, particularly the political parties and their leaders, as well as the National Election Commission (NEC), to use the runoff election as an opportunity to enhance public trust in democratic practice during the critical remainder of the election process. Well, let's quickly bring you the profile of these two candidates facing the head of President George Weah, incumbent of the Congress for Democratic Change, is the presidential flag bearer of that party, and he is the country's 24th president since its independence, and seeking a re-election in today's ballot to remain the primary contender for the nation's top job. Well, he was born on October 1, 1966, on the Capitol Bypass in Monrovia, Montserrat County. He owes ancestry to the Kru and the Bassa ethnic group. Now, spotlighting his educational background, Weah holds a master's degree in public administration and a bachelor's degree in business administration from DeVry University in Miami, United States of America. And his opposition former Vice President Joseph Boakai, and of course the candidate of the Unity Party, was second runner-up in the first round of the ballot on October 10, maintaining a close margin with the incumbent. Boakai built his career in the civil service, then later joined politics. The politician and humanitarian has reigned in Liberia's governance space for nearly 4 decades. Well, let's take you back to George Weah's profile and take a sound of him while running off the campaign yesterday.
To me, this represents a vote of confidence in our shared vision for Liberia's future. The runoff election on November 14, 2023 is a crucial moment for our nation. Your endorsement represents a vote for continuity and stability. They signify your approval of our policies that aim to bring progress and prosperity to Liberia. As we move forward, rest assured that I am committed to accelerating the implementation of existing programs and introducing new initiatives to justify your trust. We have made strides in education, healthcare, infrastructure, and the economy. But there is more to be done. Let us unite and cast our votes for number 2. A vote for progress, peace, and prosperity. Together, we can shape a better future for Liberia, a place where the dreams and aspirations of our people becomes a reality. On November 14, let us stand together for a better future, a stronger Liberia, and a nation that strives. Thank you for your unwavering support. May God bless you, and may God bless Liberia.
Indeed, it will be a tough one there for incumbent President George Weah as he faces his serious rival Joseph Boakai, who's been in this business for almost 4 decades. Well, he also, running off his campaign, promised that he would change the face of Liberia. Well, let's tell you that he began his early days as a janitor to pay for his studies, a determination that paid occasion by his poor background. Boakai later graduated from the University of Liberia with a bachelor's degree in business administration, as well as from the Kansas State University in the United States of America. Well, he has toured several agricultural projects in Denmark, Belgium, Great Britain, Malaysia, and Cote d'Ivoire in connection with poultry, cattle grazing, rubber and oil palm production and processing, and assisted in the first PL 480 program evaluation for Liberia as the chair for 1 year of the 15-nation West African Rice Development Association, and of course a toured research project of that group in Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, and Guinea-Bissau. Well, here is a candidate, Joseph Boakai.
This country has gone through a lot. For most of you, you have come to believe that the life you live now are normal. They are not normal. Everybody here deserves better. I want to say to Africa today, maybe for some of you, you don't know, to make such a decision, there are a lot of things that go behind the scenes. They have bigger pockets that want to take you over. They have people who are threatening you. But African has shown us that he's a great Liberian. He's a nationalist, one who prefers his country above material things. And that's what brings a lot of respect for him. We want to say to you who accept the honor, I want to say to you, you are the people for to bring the country to another level. Our country needs people of integrity. We need people who love humanity. People who must know that houses having food, electricity and water is not the most important thing. Leadership is about making other people realize the potential that God put in them.
All right, Unity Party's flag bearer there and presidential candidate Joseph Njuma Buakai is speaking. Well, in the time between October 10, when the first round of the Liberian elections was held, and today, there was the reported trend of realignment or repositioning among political parties who lost in the presidential race. Now, in a brief chat with WADR, Abdullahi Katiaba, a political analyst in Monrovia, remarked on the significant impact of such a switch in today's rerun and its potential repercussion on the country's political environment in the coming days.
Basically, these 2 weeks have been characterized by endorsement of the parties that did not make it to the to the second round. So people have been seeking endorsements. We know historically the turnouts are not as huge as the first round, but maybe you could have a breaking record turnout. But I think that is basically a lot of different endorsements from different candidates that won. Somebody that run for senators that won the elections, representatives that won the elections. Some of them are endorsing different candidates, like Joseph Barker, some president we have. So generally, there's a sense of calm. There's not a fear of any kind of problem or chaos, and it's not as exciting, as robust as the first round. There's not as many events as the first round. But I think people are more engaged, more strategically targeting those who won elections, targeting those who have influence, reaching out to different regions of the country. So far, people are looking forward to the second round.
Talk about a vote margin. There are those in Liberia that have said if only this endorsement as seen currently ongoing was done just before the first round of elections, then there wouldn't have been the need for a rerun.
I think if the realignment that is taking place now, if they had taken place from the beginning, it would have been a game changer. The third place person voted, the fourth place, the fifth place candidates are now voting. But they too have political parties that it was difficult to bring them around two parties. Because this is not a two-party state. It's difficult. And so it's the nature of the elections in Liberia.
Exactly, Mr. Abdullahi. You just said Liberia is not a two-party system, but are we going to see that take place just maybe after the rerun?
That could be. Look, in the last 18 years, these two parties have dominated the politics. They're always going second round. So these two parties have always gone second round since 2005. These two parties have dominated the politics of the country. And and that what has happened, we don't know whether that's what the future will look like, because the third parties did not do well in these elections. They came distant third, very distant, remotely distant third.
That was Abdullahi Katiaba, political analyst there in Monrovia. Although the conduct of the October 10, 2023 elections by the National Elections Commission of Liberia has been generally described as free and fair, many have been surprised by some of the results announced, and there have been all kinds of claims of suspicion of impropriety, ranging from the stuffing of ballot boxes occasioned by lapses in opposition poll watching, engineering of the ballot paper such that marking could be erased, and next suspicion that unstamped ballot papers were not legitimate. Short of any formal claim of impropriety, it would be helpful for NEC to explain the several apparent anomalies being observed from an analysis of the election result. Now, in some of the analyses mentioned by NEC, this included invalid votes, and they were categorized into 3 areas, which we'll be bringing to you in the course of our broadcast. One of them is the variance in total votes cast across 3 categories. Okay, ahead of today's electoral exercise, now they were concerned across the country by Liberians and the different counties to demand what they say is the country's most treasured achievement 2 decades after the 2 bloody civil wars. This priceless and non-negotiable asset is what? Peace. Very crucial. Well, in their words, maintaining peace, especially post the presidential and legislative elections, remains the primary responsibility of the National Elections Commission, NEC, which must ensure a free, fair and transparent process and declare results that reflect the desire of the electorate. Well, let's join Sangule Janko for the rest of the details.
20 years after the bloody civil wars, Liberia has made remarkable improvements on many fronts, including economy, education, health, human and infrastructural development. The election of President George Weah in December 2017 marked an important milestone with the peaceful transition from one democratically elected government to another. Nonetheless, economists, political analysts and rights activists are calling for more in terms of implementation of transformative agenda, programs and reforms, including in the judiciary. For the activists, many of the root causes of the conflict that killed more than 250,000 people, mostly women and children, remain unaddressed, with several war perpetrators being key actors from the major opposition bloc. This is something that has triggered fears among citizens. In a brief chat, Fatou Flomo, a 44-year-old woman from Tinkers Village, Pennsville, said it is important that Liberians focus on upholding and preserving the peace as well as participate in the electoral process.
God, we are in a chair, we're not running around. Even you get riot, we buy your father, you will sit down in peace. You get your boy, you can't sit down to your heart.
A 28-year-old businessman, Leroy Bassey, said it is just right that the Election Commission protects the peace of the country by announcing accurate results. He is also calling on young people to avoid violence and channel their democracy through the ballot box as they go to the polls to elect their representatives.
We all should go to the ballot box and vote peacefully, and whoever wins, Liberia win. It doesn't matter where they from.
The electoral campaign climaxed over the weekend just as it came to an end, with candidates and supporters of the Unity Party UP of former Vice President Joseph Boakai and the Coalition for Democratic Change of incumbent George Weah.
Sankle Janko there with our report on what the people want. Well, still talking about expectations of voters. Let's bring you voices of Liberians about their expectations as millions once again hit the polls for the second and final round to decide who between incumbent George Weah and opposition leader Joseph Boakai will lead the country for the next 5 years. Well, recall campaigns ended on Sunday.
I came here about 5:30 this morning.
What's your position on the queue?
I'm in the third place. Third position. The first round, it was the first round, so people were very eager to come because you have 3 ballot papers to mark, so people woke up early in the morning to come and do their part. But the second round having to be only two candidates and 1 paper, so people taking their time to come, but I'm very, very sure that people will come gradually.
What exactly are you here? Why are you here this morning?
Yeah, I came this morning to vote. I am a Liberian, and I always want to be part of the process. So that's why I'm here early this morning, again to cast my vote and get back home.
What exactly will you be voting for?
Actually, I'm voting to see change in this country, to see peace that we have been enjoying for the past 12 or so many years, that the peace will continue. That's what I'm voting.
Better Liberian, the better situation in Liberia, I'm voting for, and my children's future, that's what I want to vote for, and I'm here to vote for.
Are you sure that your preferred candidate is going to win the election today?
Oh, showcase. My candidate is the Victoria.
How sure are you? You think he will win?
Oh, because of the preparation, because of the campaign we did, so we believe God that He will help us for our candidate to be Victoria.
If the Elections Commission announces a result, your candidate did not win, what will you do?
I will accept the result. Any result that come up, I will thank God for that. Any result. But I'm asking God to give me now opportunity for my candidate to win.
Come and vote because even your candidate is not in the race, you have to come and vote. Between the 2 candidates, you choose who you want, you vote. I'll be voting for peace because when you have a peace, you will have freedom to move. You will not have nobody embarrassing you. The only thing I can say to that person is, if even someone pick at you, you have to just leave it, because we all should be as one, as peaceful, reconcile, and move the country forward. That's all I gotta say.
Do you think with division, Liberia will be developed?
No. We have to be united to move this country as one. But when we be divided, it will not be fun for all.
Yeah. So for you, after casting your ballot, what next? Will you be here, or are you going home to listen to radio?
No, I'll be home. My main aim is to come and stay in the queue and go and cast my vote. After that process, I go home and then sit. If time for radio to listen to the result, I put my radio on and listen to my result.
Election for 6 years that we are here for to vote is more significant. Because if you play with 6 years, if you don't choose the rightful leader, it's a serious problem for the nation, even for you. So it's important we must find our leader. Yeah, it's more significant to find our leader. Yeah. For the past leader, on many occasions, if they are in power, corruption have been the order of the day. And there are a lot of things, good security, good health, good education, and so forth. Therefore, I'm here to vote for the leader that will bring me a good education, a quality education rather, and also of good security, and also free movement and good governance that I'm here for.
All right, those were voices of Liberians a few minutes ago talking about and speaking on the expectations. I mean, there is nothing as good as a better security, good governance, good economy, health system working, everything working. And of course, that can really make a better Liberia. Well, we do have Darlington Popper on the line. Darlington, thank you for joining us again, and welcome. Hello, Darlington, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
All right, Darlington, thank you so much. I will just listen to voices of voters who are already there, speaking on their expectations. And the key thing that, all of them are mentioning is good governance, unity. I mean, how important is this to the people?
Honestly, this is actually important because as you listen to most of what they said, we witnessed the political campaigning activities over the last few months. They have actually been divisive and somehow toxic between political allies and rather political institutions. Individuals from various political parties are also against other people from another political side. So honestly, these elections have divided Liberia even further than before. So most of the voters here are saying that as they go to the polls today to elect the next president of Liberia, they anticipate that after the election process, there will be one winner, of course, and hopefully during the inauguration process or after the inauguration in January 2024, that president should actually prioritize the issue of national reconciliation and healing among Liberians. Because since the 14 years of civil war, Liberians have actually been trying hard to put aside their differences. But this election period, they have even further divided Liberians on political lines even than before. So most of the voters I spoke with this morning, they are actually keen on reconciliation and national development.
Well, Darlington, the contestants, like I mentioned earlier, they have been narrowed down to just two. Don't you think this makes it quite easy for the electorate to be able to make their choice, unlike when we had 20 presidential candidates?
That is quite correct. Even most of the centers I've visited, spoke to a few people who just voted. They took less than 2 minutes behind the screen to just mark the ballot. So it was actually fast than the last time because, for instance, in Monserrato here, you have to go through 20 presidential candidates. District 8, you have to go through 18 additional representatives, and you have to go to maybe 9 or 10 senatorial candidates. So it was actually longer. It took more time beyond the voting booths to mark the ballot paper. But unlike today, stood up in the queue, watching people going in one at a time. Once they enter the voting precinct, they find their names on the voter roll. I think the little delay is from the voter identification officer. You have to present your card, and they have to locate you through the voter roll. Once that is done, they give you a ballot paper. You go behind the screen. They are taking less than a minute to just mark the ballot paper because this is just true. And the images are actually big and clear that they can even see from a distance, unlike in the past where they have the images suppressed, very smaller. People have to use torchlights, to see the images to vote for their choice of candidates. So this is actually easy and actually faster than the October 10th vote we all there.
Well, Darlington, does this mean that we may have more voters turn up this time around due to reduced time spent by individual at the polling box? Would that be the case today?
That is what political observers and even analysts are anticipating because as we speak, most of the centers, people are actually not even standing in queues. You just come and go in, your ballot paper is presented to you once you identify your name through your voter registration card. And once you identify as a voter to be voting to that place, they can give your ballot paper, just a single ballot paper. You are behind the booth and mark your ballot paper. So it's actually taking less than 5 minutes for a voter to go to the poll to have their ballot marked. So it's actually faster than before.
Darlington, prior to today, there has been exchange of words by political parties. In fact, between this two CDC and the Unity Party representatives, what really has been the issue? What has been the cause of this back and forth and exchange of words before now? Even yesterday, during the rounding off of campaigns.
Honestly, the two sides, this is something relating to, we have the opposition leader, Ambassador Joseph Boakai, who many sees that this could be his last chance contesting for the presidency. And you also have the incumbent President George Weah, who has been in power for the last 5 years, almost 6 years now, who is actually trying to retain power at all costs. So people are actually, most of their supporters believe that this time around, President George Weah should be given a chance to lead. And while the opposition argue that over the last 5 years, he has poorly managed the affairs of the country, and it is time to give the country over to the opposition leader, Ambassador Joseph Boakai, who has been in public service for over a decade now. So the tension between the two sides is actually high, and we observe that even after the first round of voting, most of those who contested the elections as presidential candidates that were defeated, they are either supporting Ambassador Joseph Boakai or they are either supporting the re-election of President George Weah. So it has actually been a divided nation here. We just have a new portion of the population who are on the fence looking at the two sides. Take, for instance, Arizona Cummings, who is actually a major player into this election. He decided to be neutral as an individual, but his political party took a side to support the re-election bid of President George Weah. And Abeton, who happens to be number 10, who came third in ranking during the October 10 elections, decided to support the election of the opposition leader, Ambassador Joseph Boakai. So the stakes have been actually high between the two sides, and there have been claims, some counterclaims, allegations. Some of the allegations have been unfounded. We listened to Mo Ali. Initially, he posted accusing ECOWAS of receiving kickbacks from the government to rig the election in favor of the President George Weah. We also saw another allegation from the Secretary General of the ruling coalition for democratic change, Jefferson Koji, accusing the ECC chair Oscar Blow of having secret meetings with the opposition leader. And in India's war room, he also presented video footage, which of course there was now Oscar Blow, the United States ambassador, had to issue statement expressing their confidence in the ECC to conduct a transparent process. So there have been allegations from the two sides and inciting their supporters against one another. And on the last day of campaigning activities, we saw clashes in Niba County, where we understand several people sustained gun wounds, injuries from bullet wounds. Police is investigating as we speak. So it has actually been toxic between the two sides. But on all, 1 million Liberians are actually hoping and anticipating that this process today is actually peaceful for now. Most of the centers you see, it is actually peaceful. People are actually laughing and having fun going to cast their ballots. But we observe that maybe at the end of the day, by 6 o'clock, when the process is closed, that is when we anticipate that there will be maybe a little tension from polling centers, especially so during the sorting out process, where you have most of the contention that will arrive will be that the issue regarding invalid ballot papers. Sometimes electoral workers will say this ballot paper is invalid, and the political party representation will insist that this is not an invalid ballot paper. So they have those kinds of arguments that will be coming up. But by and large, Liberians anticipate that the process will be smoothly conducted, and we hope that the peace of the country will continue to be sustained despite the political tension that have been evolving over the last few months.
Indeed, Darlington, you mentioned something earlier in the course of your response. You talked about this being the last time for Mr. Joseph Boakai to run for, an high office as the presidency. Why is this so? Does the Constitution will the Constitution prevent him from running again in the event he wants to run another time?
No, it is not. The Constitution does not. It's not preventing him from contesting for another time. But what many people are looking at, especially political pundits, is his age, taking into consideration his age factor. And he has said it repeatedly that he just wants Liberians to give him a chance to lead the country for 6 years, to be able to reshape in his word, to reshape the country, to put it into the proper perspective, so that Liberia can flourish among the rest of the Community of Nations in the sub-region. He has said it repeatedly that he just wants to be president for just one term. So that is why many believe that this is just his tenure. I mean, this time around, his supporters, especially his supporters, feel that he should be given a chance to serve.
But Darlington, how are you sure that it's just going to be one term if he eventually wins? Don't you think it's just a political talk?
That could be, but holding all factor constant for now, he has said it as a political figure.
Yeah.
Most of them, they will come back and they will turn over and say something another time. But actually, people are concerned about his age, and they feel that he cannot be maybe potentially strong enough to go for a 2 term. So he has said it repeatedly that he just wants to go for a single term, and he wants to make sure that Liberia is regain its position in the Community of Nations.
Well, Darlington, I would have loved to let you go, but just this question in 1 minute. Which of the two parties, CDC and UP, is having more support from the other 18 parties? Do you have an idea of that?
For now, we can't lay our hands on the numbers, but we know that there are a number of people who actually gravitated towards the ruling coalition for democratic change, supporting the re-election bid of President George Weah. And also the former Vice President Joseph Boakai also got some endorsements, especially so we talk about Melvin Aberton. He came third, and also Lucini Camara. He represents our Liberian Coalition Party, ACOP. That's a huge political base also. He also pledged support to the presidential bid of the former Vice President, who happens now to be the main opposition leader, Joseph Boakai. Though his party was split, there were segments of the party supporters or loyalists and his running mate who also supported George Weah. But by and large, if you were to look at the numbers, I think we got most of those who contested the presidential election that got defeated supporting George Weah than that of the opposition. But the opposition leader got especially the top 4 people, like Councillor Tewan Gonglo, to former human rights lawyer who also contested the presidency, got defeated. He's also supporting the election of the opposition leader. So he also got a significant portion of the numbers of people who actually contested in the October 10th presidential election.
All right, Darlington, we have to let you go. Thank you so much, Darlington. We'll get back to you before the end of this edition. Well, let's cross over now to Montserrat County, where Grace Joshua Williams is on standby. Grace, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So we understand that incumbent President George Weah has just cast his vote. Bring us up to speed with that.
Okay, at exactly 10:14, His Excellency Dr. George Mani was to the Senegal Elementary School in District Number 6, Montserrat County, along with his family to cast his vote. Yeah, so
was there any comment? Was there any comment by him? Did he speak to the people? Did he leave any message to Liberians?
Yeah, he talked about him being overconfident that he's going to win this election, and he's calling on all Liberians to turn up in a number to cast their vote and express their desire to be part of the democratic process.
What is the duration of one voter at the ballot box? How long is one voter spending?
At the sense, the system, the process this morning is smooth. People coming and leaving. It's not like before where it's have a lot of difficulties in serving one person. But if you come in, you just cast your vote and walk out. So for that reason, the turnout is not huge compared to October 10th.
In other words, people don't spend much time at the polling box?
Yeah, it's just fast and smooth. Everybody go in one at a time, cast the vote, and get out. So the process is smooth.
Well, Grace, the number of people we have spoken to, I mean, this morning alone from other counties, they have talked about one key thing, unity and good governance. Have you been able to, I mean, from the people you have spoken to, are they aligning themselves with a leader that will bring, good governance, bring in good economy, a better system, a functioning government? I mean, are they also aligning themselves with that thought?
As I observed this morning, as per the interview conducted, Liberians are anticipating development and good governance from where I stand, because they are saying that if this country will get better, what importance is not getting enough food to eat, but having development, mostly the construction of road and infrastructure. So that was the point I got from the good governance and that of development come first.
Well, Grace, describe to us where you are and what the ballot paper looks like now that we have, a narrowed candidates, just two candidates. What does it look like? Can you give us a brief description of that?
Yeah, from where I stand, people turn up in numbers to vote, and the ballot paper I can describe. There are 4 persons on the ballot. The first one is Ambassador Joseph Bakai from the Unity Opposition Party, Unity Party, and his vice standard bearer Jeremiah Kuhn. And the next on the list is incumbent George Manawia and his vice running mate Joe Howard. So the process is smooth. People walk in. The 2 standard bearers are just easy to identify. You cast your vote and come out, but the turnout is okay from where I stand.
Well, Grace, I would like you to bring us up to speed with the development as regards those electoral officers that were arrested on the October 10 elections. What is the latest with them right now?
Well, investigation is still ongoing so far, and I cannot comment on that because it's with the police. But we are told that they will update the media and the public as they speed up investigation. But those people are still being barred as the investigation is ongoing.
Well, do you see this election ending early? Because there are instances, I mean, if people are coming in quick succession and leaving out, without wasting much time, are we going to see a situation where before 6 o'clock the polling units will be empty? Is that going to be the scenario?
I think so because, compared to the first time, October 10th, where we have people turning up for a senator and a representative, this one is only for the presidency, and the 2 candidates are just on the ballot. So the process is smooth. The turnout will be smooth, and I don't think people will huge compared to the first round.
Indeed. Grace, thank you so much for talking to us. We will get back to you in the course of this broadcast.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was Grace Williams Joshua there in Montserrado County, bringing us up to speed. And we understand, as you heard her there, President George Weah has cast his vote, and he has called on Liberians to come out in mass and vote and exercise their franchise. It's 10:40 a.m. from our studios here at West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar. We are also live on Voice of Liberia across the country in Monrovia, Voice of Liberia FM in Kakata, and Voice of Liberia FM in Banga Bong County. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at WADR News. We are equally streaming live on WADR and Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Well, before we took those calls, we talked about the variances in total vote cast across those three categories which we mentioned that brought on board invalid votes. Now, on election day, every voter is given a set of 3 ballot papers to vote for the president, the county senate, and the district representative, respectively. In the result provided by the NEC in its report portal, the total vote cases in each of the 3 categories are reported as a summation of the valid vote and invalid vote. In other words, we saw the invalid vote for the first round higher because it was a culmination of invalid vote from the 3 elections: the House of Reps, the senatorial election, and of course the presidential elections. We also had another issue of a stamped ballot. Now, it has been reported that an unknown number of ballots were invalidated because at the point of tabulation, it was observed that they did not bear a manually imprinted stamp of NEC. We will talk more about that. Let's cross over now to speak with Firestone there in Liberia. He is the president of the Workers' Union. Mr. Firestone, thank you so much for joining us, and good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to our African brothers and sisters in your country. We are happy to be with you people, and we are happy that you people are concerned about our election here, because Africa, we are one. And then to be concerned about our election is a wonderful thing for us. We appreciate you people for that.
Indeed, thank you so much for that. First of all, let me ask you, have you cast your vote?
No, I have not been able to cast a vote because I have been patrolling to the various areas.
Okay.
To see. The first thing is we want a peaceful election like what happened October 10. And then we been in the union cycle, we are not part of politics. So we go around to see that our workers go freely to vote, and that nothing happened. Then we always cast our vote.
But how easy do you think this election will be for the electorate? Looking at the ballot paper as described to us by our correspondent there in Montserrat County, just 2 pictures on the ballot paper. The incumbent President George Weah and Mr. Joseph Boakai. How easy would this be as a choice for the electorate?
It's very easy. There are 2 things that make it easy. As I stated, many people, when many of the candidates at the time October 10, they transported people to go and register in different areas, different counties that they are not front to vote. Now, after this election, this time around at the runoff, they are not able to carry them. So the few people who register to their original area, they make it easy for them to go and vote. So you go to the rural police center, it's now crowded how it was that somebody from in Margibi there live and go register in Bond County. Now I will not be able to go. Only few people will be able to carry their people by, but many of the people will not be able to go by. So it's very easy, and this time around the ballot paper of this time is very, very transparent, that you can see it clear, and what have you. So it's very easy this time around for people to be able to cast their vote.
Indeed, it may be a dicey period for workers in Liberia. What do you think are on the minds of workers across the country, especially regarding who's going to come in, who's going to change their lives, who's going to change their fortunes, who's going to make civil service or working in Liberia pleasant? What do you think is the expectations of these workers?
The first and foremost thing is that the decent way companies go out to say the decent way restrict or deny the employees or the workers of their retirement rights. And then this is the main point of contention in the whole country now. The workers, they cannot get their retirement. They say they send it to Social Security, and when you go to Social Security, it takes 7 months to 1 year before they can get your knee, so many of the old people who have been retired to die, by the wayside that they cannot get it. So the expectation of the workers, our expectation is what can be able to change this, to the betterment of, and then the next thing is that, there are a handful of companies in Liberia. Now, what can the government do to bring more companies in the country, that many people will be able to work, because the burden now is on the few workers that their family, everybody depends on them. So even the little one that they are making, it's very difficult for them to sustain, the entire family and people. So the anticipation or the workers now, they are looking at it that, who can be able to deliver them from this, that will have many Liberians working, people will be doing things and will be working together, and also to sustain their family.
Well, how do you think the outcome of these elections will affect the economy of Liberia? We understand subsidy was removed in some commodities, and that really has made things really tough in the country. How will the next president, affect this entire economy?
Yeah, this we are looking at this. You signal to those who are contesting, to know what the Liberians, or any are. Now, the problem there is, when the country cannot produce anything on her own, and then besides that, the government is not able to empower the citizens to be able to, to achieve something on their own. It becomes difficult. So every commodity, Liberia's favorite food is rice, but we all stay inland to get, the rice from India, rice from, China, and what have you. But if the people can be empowered, so this is the song that all Liberians continue to sing in the ears of the candidates of the very parties that, they should sing on that. So we are anticipating of, seeing a government that will be able to, dive into these things.
Well, the president in 2017 made a couple of promises, including addressing corruption, which is still hanging right now. He also talked about education, improving the quality of education, and then bringing in more representation of women in elective office. He also talked about a good infrastructure. I mean, if you want to rate the president on a scale of 10, do you think he's been able to fulfill all of this within the last 5 years?
My brother, the problem there is we say, we get one thing that human being is not like phone that when you open it, you will see whether sees on it or not. So they come and say all these things. At the end of the day, you don't see even 30% of what is said, being implemented. Because for one fact, even the federal university, the federal government university in Liberia, and say it's tuition free. We pay. I have 3 children attending the university. I pay more money, and now it made a learning process even difficult for the children.
So don't you think this will also affect the figures at the end of the election? I mean, if you have cited an instance where you still pay for school fees of your children, compared to hundreds of workers out there who are equally doing the same, don't you think this will want to change their thought and the way they're going to the vote today?
One way or the other, it will change it. Because many people, every community you go in, you hear the people, everybody are crying, from this. Even when it comes to the food level, even the health sector, people are crying, Now, many people prefer even going to drugstore to go back, even we who are working for fire zone, we who are working for fire zone, when you go to the hospital, and even you have your family, to go to the hospital, who is not a regular dependent on you, they stop there, you have to start begging, paying this. And the hospital system, the health system in Liberia, I can say has completed class because, to even get, on a daily basis, people die from common, sickness. So, this is a cry of everybody all around, even besides we the workers, besides we who are working presently. The ordinary Liberians, are crying, and wow.
Well, Mr. Faston, before I let you go, I mean, we've been listened to in Liberia across the country. What message would you like to send across to fellow Liberians? Because, I mean, they need to come out to make things happen. If they sit back at home, we may not really have, the change that we are calling for. What's your last message to them?
My message to my fellow Liberians is, we all should come out peacefully and see. We should take Liberia first. Liberia is a common denomination, a common denominator for every one of us. For everything that you look at, Liberia is a common denominator. So we should look at it and see what is affecting our life before we make a decision. Not to follow money or not to follow, or rhetoric and what have you. But see what, affecting your life. See what can be done. So not for people to come and say, yes, I will do that, I will do this. But see, they say you plant a mat over the old one. What has been done? So I'm appealing to my fellow Liberians to go peacefully and decide what at 6 years. Now I'm 59 years of age. 6 years from now I'll be 65. Yeah, I'll be 65 years of age. I mean, definitely, I will not. Even if they say working, I will not be able to work again.
Indeed. All right, Mr. Faston. Thank you so much for talking to us, and we wish you a great day. Thank you so much. Well, Mr. Faston is the president of the Workers' Union in Liberia. Well, we have Augustine Coley on standby there in Liberia. Augustine, talk to us. What is the latest from your end?
All right, thank you for joining me. Liberia decides today in the presidential runoff. I visited about 4 to 5 voting precincts in District 8, District 7, District 9, and I try to make my way to District 10. But the turnout this morning is a little bit lower than the October 10 general elections. However, the process is faster than the October 10 general election. There were some ticket issues at some point, like I observed at the Advanced High School in District number 9, where the...
Oh, there, we lost Augustine Coley there. Well, we will connect with him as soon as we can. Well, he was talking about the reduction, the low voter turnout, and maybe one can wonder if the inadequate voter education, which was highlighted during the review of the October 10 election, is what is playing out at the moment. Well, talking about the scorecard of the president, just before we round off with this edition of the live coverage, the president in 2017, he ran on the change mantra, and of course he presented 10 key things that he would do for the country between 2017 and now, and one of them is corruption, which you heard us discuss there with Mr. Firestone. Well, in his manifesto, he promised to address corruption, specifically public service corruption, and he mentioned this in his inaugural speech back then. However, corruption remains widespread in the country, with Transparency International ranking Liberia 142nd of 180 countries in its 2022 Corruption Perceptions Index. All right. Well, another thing he talked about again in his manifesto was education. He promised he will boost funding for education to improve academic institutions and vocational courses in order to tackle youth unemployment. Thus far, the government has reintroduced and expanded the school feeding programs in public schools and completed the curricular revision from early grades through high school. The government has also paid the West African Senior School Certificate Examination WASE fees for all 12 grade students, and in 2018 we had declared a tuition-free policy in all government universities. Well, you heard maybe that policy has been changed, because Mr. Faston mentioned that even as it is, he still pays school fees for his children who are in the university. Now, women representation in elective office was another thing President George Weah mentioned in 2017 that he was going to make sure it happens 50-50. Yes, as it is. He was given the title because of this feminist in chief. Yes, and he promised to prioritize the participation of more women in the electoral process. However, Liberia continues to have one of the lowest rates of women in elective offices, as women currently represent only 8 out of 73 seats in Liberia's House of Representatives and 2 out of 30 seats in the Senate. So this is really important. Infrastructure is another thing. Now, during his campaign, President Weah had promised to modernize Liberia's existing infrastructure and prioritize the development of public infrastructure projects in a bid to carry out its decentralization agenda. Thus far, the Weah government has performed to a large extent on this promise, undertaking a sizable number of projects, including constructing 2 hospitals in counties outside Monrovia, and the construction and repair of affordable housing, clinics, and markets across the country. Well, in August, the government also announced plans to start its coastal highway project to be funded by the African Development Bank. Liberia is a new member of the West African Power Pool project, pledging to buy electricity from a neighboring Cote d'Ivoire, thus increasing electricity supply. Well, finally, before we go, combating rape was one key issue because of alleged rape of a 3-year-old. Liberians took to the street in August 2020. Remember this protest? Yes. And of course, we covered it. Thus far, the government has provided a DNA machine to help with rape prosecutions. It has also established a national task force and provided more than $1 million in funding. However, a special prosecutor for rape and sexual offender registry remains unimplemented. All right. This is the much that we can take on our second edition of the live coverage of the 2023 presidential runoff elections in Liberia. And this has come to you from West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, and across partner stations across Liberia on Voice of Liberia FM 89.7 in Kakata, Voice of Liberia FM 104.1 in Monrovia, and Voice of Liberia FM 90.7 Bangabong County. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us across West Africa. Thank you so much for joining us on our social media platforms. And many thanks to our team behind the microphone, led by Abdullah Hassan, Chris Mukudi, and Maudu Juf. I am Imo Idet. See you all in the afternoon.